Hey guys, came for 15, back at it with another video for you guys. And I'm back with another Los Angeles Clippers episode video for you guys. As we finally now have 100% confirmation that Paul George is not coming back. He will not be coming back to the Clippers. Good job. Thank you, Lawrence Frank, for not caving. Also, this jersey is something bad didn't happen, but regardless, it's garbage now. Done. No more. No moss. It's over. Yes. Now I will get to Paul George to end it off, but I actually do want to talk about certain Clipper moves leading up to this decision. So, number one. Let's get to my TL. Hold on. Let me find it. James Harden. He ended up signing a 2-year, 70 million contract to return with the Clippers. He's basically being paid $35 million a year. I think there's an opt-out year too. Regardless, he basically took a pay cut. Essentially, layman's term, James Harden took a pay cut to come back to the Clippers to make sure that the Clippers have something around them to at least be, I guess you could say, somewhat competitive next year. Listen, this is the guy that they wanted. This is the guy they traded for. You cannot let this guy walk away for nothing. And he ends up coming back and taking a pay cut, which tells you, okay, he likes playing for the Clippers. What more needs to be said there? There's nothing else I can say. You know, but he's back. It is what it is. Fine. James Harden's back. The Clippers, I appreciate him taking a pay cut. And yeah, that's basically it. Now, in terms of other news with the Clippers, it seems like the Clippers are going to try to move off on Russell Westbrook and PJ Tucker. Makes complete sense because PJ Tucker opted in. They're going to try to look to trade him with a trade partner. And the same goes for Russell Westbrook. It basically sounds like they have no plans on keeping PJ Tucker and Russell Westbrook again. Good and good. PJ Tucker, if all honestly, should be cut. He should have been cut after last season because Lawrence Frank couldn't find a damn trade partner with this guy. And then as for Russell Westbrook, well, look, he gave us 2 solid years, but up and down play expected. But, that playoff series, man, it was just awful. It was just awful. He had an awful performance, an awful, atrocious performance. That game 2, I was at that game 2 against the Dallas Mavericks. He was relatively good. And then the moment game 3 happened and he got in that scuffle with PJ Washington and everything else, and that's when the man literally went downhill and he set like freaking career lows. And I think he made like hit like some weird NBA playoff history in terms of like terrible shooting. So look, Russell Westbrook honestly needed to go. He was holding back Bones Highland from actually getting a legitimate shot to be the backup point guard. And then clearly, the moment the Clippers traded for James Harden, that just messed up his role and everything of where he was going. Again, if I'm just going back to when we first got him, the guy that is now not going to be a Clipper anymore, I'm going to he basically cried and whined to go pick him up because his best friend's name was being slandered. But the problem is Lawrence Frank, he never when he talked about having a certain type of point guard, that was not the type of point guard that he was referring that the Clippers should have. The type of point guard that the Clippers should have is somebody more of like really a Drew Holiday, truly. But if you want to be current, to be honest, if you take out the defense apart, well, it's James Harden. That's the type of point guard that the Clippers were somewhat looking for, somebody that can actually hit a jump shot. And the problem with Russell Westbrook is sometimes he'd be getting way out of control on certain drive possessions. He miss a layup, and then on the other end, the team hits like a three or a get at least a layup back, and that completely kills momentum. Or he turns the ball over, or he's taking a damn jump shot, which AKA those are wasted possessions. You know? So the fact that they're looking to find a way to find a trade partner for Russell Westbrook because he opted in, one, he opted in because it shows you, too, what the market feels about him. The market is telling you, like, dude, we're not going to pay you. And also, too, listen, we ain't probably going to sign you on our team because, well, we don't want to deal with your liabilities. Again, if he finds a way to be on this next team, whatever next team he goes to, listen, all I'm gonna say is this. This will probably be his last team he's gonna play on, and then he's gonna be out of the league, and he might just have to honestly just think about it and probably just retire. Because legitimately, when there's no offers for any teams, unless they're asking you, dude, we'll bring you on, but the least you can do is be a bench role. And you're gonna be a guy sitting on the bench, probably not getting minutes at all. Plain and simple. The time for Russell Westbrook is probably has passed him by. Teams don't want to deal with a point guard that is out of control, even though he gives a lot of hustle and effort. He's out of control. He can't hit a jump shot to save his life. And then it depends what he gives you on defense. He could be a good defender or he could be a piss poor defender. Plain and simple. Look, I appreciate Russell Westbrook for what he did the past few years, but to be honest, I ain't gonna miss what he gave us. I ain't gonna miss what he gave us. And especially I'm not going to miss his annoying ass what Russell Westbrook stands accounts on social media that would critique you if you mention any negative thing about Russell Westbrook, even if it was correct, because the man can't do no wrong. I'm not gonna miss Russell Westbrook. I will appreciate the time what he did. You can say we somewhat got his career and helped his reputation be a lot better than it was after he was coming off the Lakers deal, because really that was it. So if anything, Russell Westbrook owes an apology or owes a thank you to Lawrence Frank for actually just caving and giving him a shot or an opportunity, because realistically, Lawrence Frank didn't have to do that. He could have just told Paul George, look, dude, we're not doing that. He's not the ideal point guard that I want on the roster, but I'm sorry. We're going to stick with what we got, and you're going to like it or not. So, yeah. PJ Tucker, whatever. Mason Plumlee, he ended up also leaving. He signed with the Suns. Good riddance. I ain't going to miss Mason Plumlee and his point center shit and his no defense playing self. Um, you know, obviously that creates a hole at the backup center position, which we need to address that. And that's kind of the thing there. The Clippers also signed Kevin Porter Jr., former Houston Rocket player who then got in a very serious situation revolving his girlfriend in terms of domestic violence and stuff like that. And then he went overseas to play overseas basketball, I think in Greece. And the Clippers basically gave him a minimum deal, minimum contract. It just feels like basically what the Clippers gave freaking Josh Primo yesterday. The only difference between now, the one similarity between him and Josh Primo is they've had very serious off the court issues when it comes to women. Um and the only difference between those two is Kevin Porter Jr. has more talent than Josh Primo does. Um Look, personally, I'm fine with the move. I can understand why some Clipper fans are upset why the Clippers would be doing this, because it's like, okay, why are we signing these players that have bad incidents in their past and it can be an effect on their character? Now, personally, obviously, you know, I think everybody deserves a second chance unless it's absolutely detestable. Um I would envision Lawrence Frank, obviously negotiations had to have talked to the guy, and they clearly, the Clippers staff had to frickin' clearly really find out before they gave this guy a contract. Like, okay, dude, we understand what you did off the court, and that's unacceptable. But because of what you've done on the court, we're willing to give you an opportunity. Don't mess it up. You know, I understand Clipper sentiment saying like, look, why do we have to be the team that is trying to get a player back on track in terms of rehabilitation? Look, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm not supporting what he did off the court. That is the detestable act. Just like with Josh Primo, that was a detestable act as well. I can see why Clipper fans would be upset, but if you're legitimately going to quit your fandom over this, well, then maybe you were never a Clipper fan to begin with. The only thing, I'm not saying you have to support the guy if he gets legit minutes, or you have to cheer the guy, or if he makes a bucket, you cheer him. Thing he could be absolutely silent, because trust me, there are many times we went to Clipper games, they announced Josh Primo's name, and the damn crypto.com arena was freaking silent as shit. It was silent as a bat because they know, okay, we ain't supporting this guy. Um, Look, I think if he gets an actual opportunity to play basketball, just on it, and I'm just keeping it as a basketball thing. I think he can be solid in what he could bring to the Clippers. Um, you just hope he gets the opportunity to play, because that was the one thing about Josh Primo that we didn't see. We signed him to a, a stupid contract, and he didn't even get any minutes. And then they finally realized, well, he actually serves no purpose for us, and they cut him like super late into the year. And it's like, well, then why is he here? I hope with Kevin Porter Jr., they actually give him an opportunity to play NBA minutes and actually see, okay, can you live or die at this level? And if not, we're just gonna cut you, especially the fact that you ain't already a good look on our PR department. So Kevin Porter Jr. kind of has a prove it year, if he gets the opportunity. So we'll see. Obviously, if he can play solid basketball, obviously some people will not forget what he did in his past, but it can be the way to being like, all right, yeah, he did a detestable thing, but he's still a solid player. Um, and as long as he keeps it about the basketball thing, that's the thing. Again, also too, he's young, so I guess I can't really fault the decision either, because it's like, well, what other ways are you going to get younger in free agency? Not much. So they're taking a flyer on this guy. Hopefully he gets the opportunity to play, and hopefully he kills it in the role he does. Again, I'm not gonna go out there and support the guy like crazy for what he did, but like I said, Clipper fans who might be dropping on the fan base because, oh, we picked up this guy. I understand it's a bad look that we got a guy a year ago that did something very inappropriate to a woman's staff, and then next thing you know, we sign a guy who basically beat up his girlfriend very brutally. Um, Listen, it sucks. And obviously, that's the question that the reporters need to ask Lawrence Frank in a press conference about, like, are they truly looking into these guys' characters in terms of who they sign? Because you literally, I would ask him, like, you can make the argument you sign two guys with very questionable, off the court incidents where, you can make the case for somebody making an NBA gamble. Why are they banned from the league? But people like that are not banned from the league, you know. So that question definitely needs to be asked to Lawrence Frank by a beat reporter in his press conference, of why he went last year. He went after Josh Primo, and then this year he's going after Kevin Porter Jr. And just with the facts alone, they've had very serious well, I wouldn't say allegations, but serious incidents um in their past that you can make the case, why is this signing happening, and if there's going to be any bad PR coming back from this, you know. But and I would, even if I were asking the question, I'd be like, obviously you can't worry about what the fans say, but at the end of the day, certain members of the fan base, they are not happy with this decision. What do you tell them in terms of like trying to be understanding, but at the same time do what you can to make your basketball team better? So that's kind of the thing right then and there. But other than that, next thing you know, next thing you know, um, Paul George, Paul George, He ended up, one, we get confirmation he is not coming back to the Clippers. He is not coming back. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And the Clippers actually put out a legitimate PR statement talking about it. Now, Adrian Wojnarowski basically talked about how Paul George's agent, Aaron Mintz of CAA, and Clippers president Lawrence Frank had a conversation a short time ago that resulted in no new movement on a deal and an acknowledgement by both that George is unlikely to return to the Clippers. Basically confirming that, listen, he's not coming back to the Clippers. Last year was probably the chance that, you know, basically that's it. It's simple. It's simple. Legitimately, it's actually simple as to why. The Clippers saw all what the Clippers saw all that they needed to see from Paul George. You know, they re-signed Kawhi Leonard questionably in the middle of last year. Personally, I would have not done that. I would have just wait till the season plays out. But um, they got Kawhi Leonard on a team-friendly deal, and basically they were telling Paul George at the table, "Look, dude, you ain't getting paid any higher than Kawhi. You're not getting that fourth year. You're not getting that max contract. So you either take our pay cut team discount so you can help us build around us so we can, because the second apron bullshit that the dumbass Players Association agreed to, because I don't know why, which is it's gonna start the second apron stupid stuff. It's gonna start breaking up more teams than keeping them together because of this crazy hard cap now, and the fact that if you go over the second apron, you're gonna basically lose draft picks. And teams are not willing to lose draft picks because they're over this very serious hard cap. Again, I don't understand why the Players Association even agreed to this, because now the owners just can be cheap as much as they want to, and certain players ain't going to get as paid. And so far, you're already looking at the free agent period of the NBA. It's not only number one confusing as shit for me as a fan, but it's also ruining free agency. There's not going to be as many splash plays or splash signings as you see. Um, and really, honestly, this deal really incentivizes teams to, well, one, draft better if you haven't been drafting better, and then two, developing said talent. Because eventually, if you can't pay certain players, well, you're gonna have to find replacements and draft and develop well. Otherwise, you're basically gonna be screwed over. But anyways, let me pull up the thing. Let me pull up the news. The Clippers released a statement. The statement from the Clippers regarding Paul George says Paul has informed us that he is signing his next contract with another team. Paul is a tremendous talent and an elite two-way player. We feel fortunate for 5 years we spent with him. Over that span, he went to 3 All-Star games and made the most 3-pointers in franchise history, and helped lead the team to a place it never had been. His performances in Game 5 and 6 against Utah in 2021 won't be forgotten by anyone associated with the Clippers. We traded a lot to pair Kawhi and Paul George and Kawhi, and in exchange, we had 5 seasons of contention. Even though we fell short of our ultimate objective, we appreciate the chances we had with Paul. Heading into this offseason, our roster constructed 3 great players, 33 and over, 2 whom could be free agents. We wanted to retain them on contracts that would allow us, under the constraints of the new CBA, to continue building the team. We negotiated for months with Paul and his representation on a contract that would make sense for both sides, and we were left far apart. The gap was significant. We understand and respect Paul's decision to look elsewhere for his next contract. We explored an opt-in trade scenario, which is a hint with the Warriors and the Nuggets stuff that was, coming out the last few days. But it would have left us in a similar position under the new CBA, with very little asset value to justify restrictions. We will miss Paul, and at the same time, we are excited by the opportunities we've now been afforded. Under greater flexibility under the new CBA, Kawhi is an all-NBA player, and we believe Ty Lue is the best coach in the league. We will field a highly competitive team. Ha ha ha! Sure you will. this season and moving forward and use our organizational advantages to bring top talent to the Intuit Dome. That is basically it. And the funny part is, the moment the negotiations and the contract talks were done and completely over, and Paul George more than likely said, I'm going elsewhere, that's when the Clippers just put this whole situation out. That's when they put it out. And I'm like, damn, so he really is gone. Basically, it confirms that he's going to be gone. They're not going to come back to the table to do a deal. It's simple. Clippers had a certain number for Paul George. They're like, dude, take it or leave it. This is the last and final offer. Now, I respect Lawrence Frank for not being desperate and worried about then here and now. You need to worry about the future. The future is not involving Paul George, who is, let's be real, in his mid-30s now. Plain and simple. And yes, Paul George can come to the table saying, well, I played more than Kawhi. Well, guess what? I can just be at the table saying, well, then that's great and all. But when Kawhi was out and we needed you to show up outside of 2021, you didn't do that. You didn't show up. What were you doing last playoff series? You only averaged 19 points in the series against the Dallas Mavericks. So why should we pay you? Plain and simple. That's why the Clippers moved off on Paul George, because they know, guess what? He didn't come through for us. He didn't prove that he deserved the max contract. He didn't do it. Dropping 7 points in game 3 and then only dropping 15 points in a critical game 5. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. You know? And Paul George, to be honest, some fans were at the time were just getting sick and tired of it. Man was always coming up with excuses as to why the Clippers didn't get to where they needed to get to, or why he didn't play better. Just flat out excuses. And then the man was always let me get some water because my throat's getting dry. The man always continued begging the front office to sign his best friends. He had Patrick Patterson on the team. John Wall, another friend of his on the team. Russell Westbrook, always the most notorious one, on the team. The John Wall demand lost us Isaiah Hartenstein. And then guess what? We end up getting rid of John Wall only to get Russell Westbrook, another friend that, after a game he played like dog shit, he was in the press conference basically begging for the Clippers to sign him. And then you add in the fact that he's been on Podcast P and doing that shit. And then talking about like, oh, well, kind of giving backhanded comments saying like, well, I kind of wish I just want to get back to playing the right way of basketball, which is stupid. I still don't understand what he means by that. Hopefully whatever new team he goes to, they ask him, what do you mean by playing the right way of basketball? Because like even dating back to the bubble, the man was upset that he didn't have the ball more and he was a spot up shooter. And then the following season, he talked about like how he didn't want to have the ball in his hands anymore. He wanted to be a spot up shooter. And it's just like, dude, make your damn mind up. And the problem with Paul George is this. He does not know when to make his mind up. He doesn't know what he wants. And that also translates to his play. He doesn't know if he wants to be a superstar player. He doesn't know if he wants the ball in his hands. He doesn't know if he wants to be a spot-up shooter. He doesn't even know if he wants to get paid seriously. Whatever. I'm done. I'm done with the indecisiveness. I'm done with the fact that a guy that has all the talent in the world doesn't want to show up or not be serious. The man could not get past Derek Jones Jr., for crying out loud. There was times Luka Doncic was locking his ass up. Times that even fucking Kyrie Irving was freaking locking him up. And it's like, dude, come on now. You're telling me you're bigger than some of these guys. You're bigger, stronger, more physically athletic than these guys. And you can't even get past them. Fine. It's simple. Paul George's whole goal was to get home to California and enjoy California. The first two seasons, really, it was really that 2021 season. He was actually like legitimately serious in his play, and he was actually trying actively to get the Clippers to win a championship. But ever since then, ever since that season, it's just like he's been more in love with just being home. And then once he started his podcast, it's like he was already, it's like he's already focusing on his post career. And there's nothing wrong with that. He definitely needs to look ahead and potentially plan out. But it's like at the same time, you're playing for a team that needs to win its first NBA championship in team history. And your ass is more worried about extracurricular activities. And that's why you're not showing up on the court. So whatever, wherever he goes, I don't know. The only two teams he could go to, I'm guessing, is either Orlando. I don't know if they can still go pay him a max after they signed after they signed what's his face? Kentavious Caldwell Pope. And then two, the only other place he could go is Philadelphia. Philadelphia is the only other place he could go. Plain and simple. Now, it's funny that he would go to Philadelphia, and the fact that he has a very weak mindset or a very weak mental state. It's funny how he's going to go to like one of the most toxic environments in sports world, because when you're talking about Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, they hold their teams to a certain standard. Those fans deserve or demand excellence. Like if you are an Eagles, a Phillies, or even a freaking 76ers, they expect you to win if you got the talent, and they expect you to win a championship. And if you fall short, those people will literally crucify you. Now, just imagine if Paul George decides to drop 7 points in a playoff game and it ends up becoming a series loss for them. Philadelphia fans, the Philadelphia media will eat him alive. I don't know how he would even be able to manage through that. Respectfully, he'd probably take his balls back to California and go back to mommy and go cry in her arms, just like Caleb Williams did after he lost to Washington. But again, Philadelphia 76ers fans are going to be all hyped and everything, but I'm just telling them, I'm just giving them a warning. When Paul George does not show up when you expect him to, and they always keep bringing up about, well, he can't be no worse than Tobias Harris. He won't be no worse than Tobias Harris, but please, when you actually need to count on him, when you think he needs to show up, because maybe Tyrese Maxey isn't having it, or Joel Embiid ain't having it, or he injured. And the next guy that needs to step up is Paul George, and he doesn't show up. Well, then that's when you're going to have your problems. That's when you're going to have your problems. And then Paul George will try to find a way to deflect blame off himself. It's what he does. It's what he does. Plain and simple. Ben Simmons couldn't last one playoff series against after the Hawks playoff series, and the man could not. He still mentally got broken from that. Man hasn't even played an NBA game in his life since that moment. Hasn't been the same. Just imagine what happens if Paul George goes to Philadelphia and he stinks up the joint and those fans berate him. It may be over for the man. I don't know if he mentally can handle that, respectfully. Because at the end of the day, Paul George, he's got a gigantic body. He's got all the traits. He got all the tools. But the one thing up here, that's where he's most weak at. You can affect him mentally, he's done. And I'm just one Philadelphia 76er fan. The man is not hitting shots, he checks out. He checks out. I respect Lawrence Frank, even though I don't like him as the team making guy, but I respect for Lawrence Frank for standing at his gun, not caving, and just basically being honest and be like, dude, we're trying to get on the second apron. That's what the move was to do. to get on the second apron. And with Paul George leaving, it basically effectively ends the 2-1-3 era of Clippers basketball. Before I end off the video, the one thing I just got to say about the 2-1-3 era of Clippers basketball is this. It was a colossal failure. A colossal failure on epic proportions. This may be a hot take amongst other people. Everybody is entitled to have their own opinion, and that's fine. Now, I have not dealt with anything pre-2009, 2010 Clippers. I really became a Clippers fan when we first got Blake Griffin. That's when I got hooked on, because one of my first Clipper games was a preseason game back in that season. That's when I became a true diehard Clipper fan. So I haven't seen any of the eras previous to that. But I don't care what anybody says. This is my opinion and my opinion alone. The 2-1-3 era of Clippers basketball, by far, is one of the worst eras in Clippers history. It is top 5. You can make the case it's top 3. But in my opinion, it is. Let me say that again. The 2-1-3 era of Clippers basketball is the worst era of Clippers history of all damn time. So many teases, so many hype moments, so many, I don't know what you can say, but basically, we all got cock teased as fans. That fateful day when we traded for Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, essentially, to bring them to LA to basically try to get a championship. Its first championship in team history. The first season. I don't know what happens if COVID does not happen. If COVID does not happen, I don't know if we end up winning the championship. I believe at that point in time, before the pandemic hit, we were on a roll, even though we lost to the Lakers that one Sunday afternoon or whatever. We were still on a roll, and it looked like we were clicking on all cylinders. And then, boom, pandemic hits, gets shut down. We go into the bubble. We get past Dallas. That series should have ended in 5 games. It took us 6 games. We then play Denver. We go up 3-1 on these losers. And then we preferably have one of the biggest choke jobs in NBA history, blowing a 3-1 lead. Then the following season, they actually get serious. They fire the coach, Doc Rivers. They hire Ty Lue. They're actually serious. They go all the way to the Western Conference Finals. They get past Dallas in 7 games. Make the argument that it should have not taken that long. And then that fated Game 4 against the Utah Jazz. Joe Ingles bumps into Kawhi, and then that was the legitimate turning point in the 2-1-3 era. If Joe Ingles just avoids Kawhi and gets out of the way, we may be talking about the Clippers already having a championship, already having what we all need to accomplish with. And honestly, at that point in time, maybe we don't have James Harden. We don't have Russell Westbrook. We got our championship and we're fine. But that moment changed everything. Still, regardless, we get to the Western Conference Finals after Kawhi goes down, only to lose in 6 games to the Phoenix Suns, falling just short of an NBA Finals. We have that one season where it was just literally the Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris show. And that's where the problems really started to start out. Then the following season, where that was the season where everyone thought, all right, this is the year. We need to flip the switch. We got Kawhi back fully healthy. Paul George is fully healthy. This is the year where we need to take it seriously. Then the one time the damn Western Conference was the weakest it's ever been, we decide to have one of the worst seasons ever I can remember in Clippers history. A season that I would love to forget. Paul George gets hurt going into the playoffs, the whole drama with Kawhi coming back. He didn't play for like a good chunk of the first half of the season. You know, the unserious play as if they weren't taking the regular season seriously and they're just going by. You know, the John Wall shit, losing Isaiah Hartenstein, only to go get Russell Westbrook. He provided a spark after we went literally like 0-6 with him. Then Paul George gets hurt, thanks to Lou Dort. Then Kawhi gets hurt in the playoffs against Phoenix after an amazing game one and then game two. And then that's all she wrote. And then this year, you know, you trade for Harden. Debatable how people feel about that. And then boom. We go through a stretch where we're actually winning games, and then we hit that stretch in February where we just kept losing and we're inconsistent. Had that one game where we were first seed in the Western Conference Finals, and then everything came apart from that point on. We play Dallas, or actually, end of March, Kawhi gets hurt. He's literally gone for the rest of the season. He plays games 2 and 3, looks like a shell of himself. Done. We lose in Dallas. The entire team, with the exception of a few players, had an atrocious performance. And that's basically it. And that's 2-3. So, lost in the second round, Western Conference Finals appearance, lost in the play-in round, and then 2 back-to-back first-round exits in back-to-back years. With all the hope that this team had, all the hype, really, it's not even hope, hype. This team failed. Failed on epic proportions. And you're going to have some NBA fans talk about, oh, we got fleeced. If the OKC Thunder end up becoming a damn dynasty where they're winning multiple championships, that's when I will 100% admit that trade for Paul George was an absolute fleece of a deal for the Thunder, and that might go down as the worst trade in NBA history. That's when it will take me to say that. If the Thunder can win 3 championships with Shea and those boys in OKC, I'll wholeheartedly admit I was 100% wrong, and that trade is the worst in NBA history, but it isn't. When you go back in time, you look at that deal, listen, could Lawrence Frank handled it better, saying like, look, we're willing to bring over, maybe not give up as many draft picks to the Thunder, and maybe find a way to convince Kawhi, or maybe not worry about Kawhi's bluff. Because I think regardless, he was coming here. He clearly wanted to be here anyways. I don't think he was joining the Lakers to make a super team. And I damn well know he wasn't going back to Toronto. So many outcomes that over the course of this era, you can make an argument. Maybe they should have went this direction. Maybe they should have did this. Maybe they should have did that. It's plain and simple. Just plain and simple. It sucks. It sucks. I remember the very first night that we traded for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and I was the happiest, and I just had visions of winning a championship. Now that ain't happening no more. 2-3 is effectively dead. Thank God it's dead. Thank God it seems like the Clippers are moving in a different direction, because if I'm being honest, I was sick and tired of this shit, and I was done. After last year's, I was just done. Done. I didn't want to see any more. I was done. And I made my rant video. I was done. Plain and simple. So, nothing else to say. Good luck to wherever Paul George goes. I don't really care. So what? It is what it is. It is what it is. Hopefully, the Clippers move into an era where they start to get more young, more youthful, and eventually they 100% kill a good half of 2-1-3 off, which is really Kawhi. And then James Harden and stuff like that. But we'll see where the team goes. If there's any other Clipper news, I'll talk about it. I guess they have an interest in getting Klay Thompson, perhaps. We'll see if that happens. I'm not really too high on it, but whatever. But anyways, that's it. I'm gonna get out of here. If you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts. Hit that subscribe button if you want to get more thoughts about this Clipper stuff and anything else. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Catch you guys in the next video. Till then, guys, peace.